Mhm. I think I am listening to the person, the gravity and the struggles all over the building. Notification, I want to again.
Yeah, son, you can hear me?
Yeah, man, loud and clear.
All
So
right, soon good.
I'm hoping that means that the rest of the
We
world is
live?
hearing us loud and clear as well too. I am trying to figure that out now. That's what I'm gonna try to figure out here. It seems as
Yes.
if, yes, it seems as if
Du-
we are live and
All right,
lively.
beautiful,
Yep.
beautiful.
Yes.
All right,
So
yeah,
we can
man, give
say
thanks. Big up.
a wonderful evening to the people of Oli and Layamiga. You know, Banky, as we're about to start, right? I was just having a little meditation day myself, right? And I'm realizing that, you know, even down to the language we speak was given to us from the colonizers, right? And the only two words we could say that we have left from our ancestors is Oli and Layamiga, you know? And so it is really critical that we make use of them, you know? I know, I mean, I know for sure, usually when you make your introduction, that is the way you do it. But like earlier on, you know, the thought crossed my mind. I was like, on that like depth of meditation, and I was like, you know what I mean, all these other words, even St Kitts and Nevis, and I guess that's part of the struggle in America and even in a lot of these other parts of the Caribbean, because Jamaica have a vibrant maroon territory, indigenous territory. We don't, and that is the difference. Where some people recognize St. Kitts and Nevis, or in Jamaica's case, Jamaica,
Remember
as the
up in,
government of
remember
Jamaica.
Zetland, remember Zetland, the area is called the Maroon Hills, you know. When you go to Zetland, that's where the Maoism is up in Rollins area. If you speak to the people of Rollins, you'll get a history and the people of Rollins know that history. When you go up Zetland area, all up in the hillside, up there is Maroon Hills, you know, you didn't know that. We have the
Well,
same type of
maybe
history as Jamaica. Yeah.
maybe that is something that we need to take some time out to have some discussion, find somebody that can at least bring us up to date and bring us up to speed. And that could be a very interesting topic for whether the
Yes.
topics are one of our editions of Everything Agriculture. But I'll let you get into your introduction. I mean, it was just a kind of thing because I know you
Of
usually
course.
introduce the show using those words, and I just said, let
Yes,
me just drop.
because I need those names to be on our travel document and take off the St. Kitts and the Nevis and put on all and put on like Amiga. That is what I see is important. And if we have true leaders and know that we are indigenous people and a part of the natives who are here, we should claim who we are and stop. We just love to accept other people's way of life and the shame of who we are as an individual. And if we start to teach in school, as you enter school, preschool, who your children are, teach them who they are. Take out
Right.
religion and everything else outside of it and teach them who they are and the strength that they have on the individual and the divineness that they are as an individual, as young and they'll see things differently. But we're not teaching these things. We are just been programming our children and our youth them to think a certain way. It is one thing I learned, don't mind somebody trying to indoctrinate you, because once you don't learn everything they taught you, then you have a right now to filter out everything and question everything. That's beautiful. But you start to question things, then have a problem with it. But let me say good evening to the folks tuning in. It's the 21st of March and this Friday evening. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. You could be doing anything else on this Friday evening. Usually, most people weekend through the COVID, the weekend start on a Thursday here in Nevis now, and Wednesday people pull out the grill on Wednesday and Thursday. Today had the lockdown days. They allow you to start, so people still stick. So you see how things don't really fall in place and people continue to stick to these things. So here now, the weekend don't really start on Fridays, it start on a Thursday. So good
Well,
evening to the
I'm
folks
here
here in
laughing,
Lion
right?
Make it.
I'm laughing
Yes.
because I was listening to something yesterday online, and whatever I was listening to, it ended, and then something else started to play. And within that, there was somebody doing some promotion, and they were saying, today's not Thursday, today's
Mm-hmm.
Friday Eve. Today's Friday's Eve,
Yes,
Friday Eve.
of
And
course.
so you see, you're saying that
Yes,
the weekend start now on
of
Thursday.
course.
That's why I'm laughing
Of
because
course,
now people start
yes,
celebrating. As they say, it's not Friday. It's Thursday. It's not Thursday. Sorry, it's Friday Eve. It's
yes,
the Eve of Friday.
of course.
So I
I
found it
have
interesting.
observed that from since the COVID and when it's finished, everything still remain from that time. So everybody pull out this stuff and start the weekend on Thursday. So the weekend are extended for extra day. So yes, let me continue in the neighboring island for the folks in Saban Station. We definitely will have those folks in some of the St. Martin, the US Virgin Islands, and the BVI. Not forgetting the folks over in Montserrat, Guadeloupe, those over in Dominica, Grenada, St. Vincent and Grenadines, St. Lucia, here in Antigua and Barbuda, and also folks down in Bermuda have a lot of people listening throughout the eastern and Leeward Islands and stuff like that. So we greatly appreciate all the guys for tuning in. And on it doesn't seem like it matter which day we host a show, they're definitely in tune and want to hear what we're speaking about. And I guess because our show is different, yes, son. I mean, this is something that we needed, and I also encourage other Caribbean countries to have an agriculture show. You know, not just we alone, but anyway, we at the sound of my voice, agriculture is something which means you have to care about the environment, and at the same time it's for your own survival. Food is free if you plant it, you know. At least you know some of what you're planting. At least it's safe, and that's the key. And once you're eating something you don't grow, you don't know how safe it is. You don't know how it's grown, and people really don't care about your well-being. What humans care about living in this realm here is money, and at all cost. You know, so it's very important that you grow some of what you eat, especially some of your seasoning, because you definitely would be using seasoning. So those seasoned pepper that we have here, many other countries don't really have it. So, but it's very flavorful. So when you have the usually mango festival, and they have those seasoned peppers, is one thing the chef them speak about is our seasoned pepper because they realize they look like the jalapeno, but then when they taste it, so wait, is that hot pepper? It blow the mind because they didn't really know that those peppers come flavorful like that. So usually if you're cooking with seasoned pepper, you don't really need the bell peppers and stuff like that. How flavorful they are. So we are very fortunate. We've been in an environment where we can grow food all year round. But when this time coming and the sun start coming out in March and they get a little less rainfall, people start to quiet and say place hot and dry weather and they just stop planting. But other countries where they don't get the rainfall, but the water is underground and then deserted area, they're planting all year round. You see what I mean? But we quick. So it shows that if we're gonna put agriculture on a serious level, we we're serious about it. Just so we have tourism, and tourism is about selling land and properties. Tourism is really real estate. You see, so and that is really out of a problem because when investors come in, other people come in to buy land. Is your resources you're just losing, and a lot of people making a lot of money off of it because that is their profession. So they just shut a blind eye to hell with everybody else. This how if me not do it, somebody is gonna do it, and that's the mind frame. So that's the carpet business but down the road, they too will have to suffer when you don't split all your land, and then the natives people is become the minority because we have the resources here in Oyasan, but just that is not it's just not trickling down to the poor man. But let me wrap up and just shout out the folks over in England and those in those other territories where the time zone is very differently. So it could be it's really late in the morning more time. So we really appreciate those folks staying up late just to hear what we have to speak about, and also the folks in North America, from up in Boston, from Maine right down to the Florida Keys, Atlanta, Chicago, New York. You know what I mean? Just all those are the sound of my voice. Whether it's good morning, good evening, whichever is appropriate. Greatly, guys, tuning in. This evening, we're talking about a few different topics: food security, cannabis. Also, we should have a guest, Sankofa. So whenever he's ready to come in, he come in and join us, and we just continue discussion. Yes, son. Everything going on your end?
Well, I'm giving thanks and praises. As you mentioned, it's, kind of warming up. We're not really getting those cold nights anymore. It's getting closer to that time where you could really start to plant a lot more. So that's where the work is right now, preparation and planting out a lot of seeds. And I would have had some slips of things that could have been grown during the colder period. So I have some cilantro, some dill, some sage, oregano, some of those things. Coming some bok choy. Those I need to transplant in just a little bit. But yeah, that's what's happening right now. Really looking forward to a bountiful spring and getting set for later on in summer. Oh, I got some watermelons planted too, so I haven't really done that since I'm up here, but I'm looking forward to having that, to add that to the selection of things that's gonna be on the menu. I had a physical roadside stall, but this year I'm really looking forward to doing an online farmers market energy, along with some pop-up, like just maybe a day or two prior, advertise that we would be at a specific location and just be there for a couple of hours and make sure that people get food. It's really kind of interesting, Banky, as we look at the logistics right now. A lot of places where America get their food from. Imagine many people in the Caribbean depend on America for food, and America depend on a lot of these other places for food. Now, in this sense, some of these places, they are seeking to increase tariffs on some of these places. The implications are going to be that the cost of those things are going to increase. Fuel might possibly go up as well, so which means even those foods that are going to be transported via boats, plane to get to you, the cost is going to increase. And even though governments sometimes are minded to sometimes cushion by subsidizing some of these increases, they could only do so much. Some of it is definitely going to be passed on to the consumer. And so if you are in that position where you continue to import heavily and depend on imports for your food, then you're going to have to find more money to pay. And if you don't have more money to pay, you know, then that is a whole other story based on the kind of system that we're living in. And so that is why we really have to zoom in and, to some extent, it's going back to our roots, and it's due to the fact that we would have lost that connection with our roots. As I was reflecting on the Oli and Liamega situation earlier, I was even reflecting on the fact that we claim to be the most intelligent beings that were created, but yet we are the only ones paying to live on the planet. I mean, the birds, the cow, the dog, the cat, they live in and they eat in, they find food. However, they don't have to pay for rent for an apartment and for no house and for no electricity and a cable and no, you know what I mean? And they live and they survive. Um, we have been duped into even paying for water. Like, how did we get to that? And as we mentioned that we're going to get into the cannabis topic, then that in itself, I think, kind of shows or give the answer to some extent to the question that I'm here asking. How did we get to that? Because it demonstrates the ability to psychologically brainwash a people, because the question would remain still, how do we get, or how did we get to the point where one could make you feel so bad about a plant that you don't even want to hear about it, that you don't even want to associate with it, you don't even want to touch it, have nothing to do with it, even though it is now legalized or decriminalized. So, okay, before, when they had it criminalized, you could say, well, okay, I could see that you don't want to have anything to do with it because, okay, you don't want to get caught up with it. But it's at the point now where it is free and it is legal. But the brainwashing, the psychological effect is so much I used an example in a post just a while ago where it's almost like, where like with you have a horse and you usually tie it on a pole when you go inside the house. And even if you ain't tie the horse and you just bring the horse right there, which part you're accustomed to tie it up, the horse will just steady and don't move even though it is free. Well, it is kind of like that right now. So cannabis is free, but the mentality of the people towards cannabis is still locked up. So that mentality is still pushed even throughout within the police force and the agencies who should be allowing that freedom. It is still being dealt with and treated as if nothing has really changed in terms of the legislation towards cannabis. So I'm looking forward to Sankofa and that discussion as well as we get into that. But I just I'm putting these things on the table for us to, as a people, begin to think, because we have to be able to think outside of the status quo in order to deal with some of the things that we are addressing right now. Those who are at the helm and who are doing and benefiting from the status quo is hinging and hoping that the status quo continue, and many of the people don't begin to think the way that we are suggesting that they should think. Um, I see a question there for you, Banky, from Alan. Says, are you saying that your ancestors are from Oli? So anyway, but that's there, and then you can continue with your introduction and deliberations.
Yes. Well, I guess I could answer Alan's question. It's not a matter if the ancestors is from Ori, is a matter of keeping the cultural name of the island that what it was from the get go. You know what I'm saying? You can't just erase a history of a place and just rename everything about it and just condemn things. Otherwise, you just forget about, because at the end of the day, we all are connected. You see what I mean? And it's not like some of us was never here before, and we have no type of resemblance with the Indians and all. If we start to trace stuff genetically, you realize everybody's a part of us. Even you understand, even if you go back to Japan, China, they're really black people, the first and second dynasty. But that's a different history discussion and stuff like that. But next week, I mean, this is one more week before the Agriculture Open Day, which is next week Thursday and Friday. The Agriculture Expo, the ETW Wooded Park. So definitely there usually be a big event, one of the biggest event 2 days on the island, apart from Culture and the Mango Festival and stuff like that. So people tend to really look forward for stuff like that, being prepared from since last year and buying up stuff to different vendors and all this different stuff. So it's right now, I mean, I know people tend to be done start to harvest and prepare and all this different stuff. Hopefully, most people get in who wanted to take part, get time to register. Sometimes have some late ones who are undecisive and wait till the last moment. And when time up, then they have to squeeze them in and make arrangement. But definitely, the abattoir is ready. And I spoke to Mr. Griffin, and he said he definitely have 2 extra new product which will be on the market. I mean, I don't know how Gary come up with some of these stuff. He just keep pulling out tricks out his books all the time away and they better or something like that. But he just keep adding more and more and more to the abattoir at the processing area. So when the time come and he have to move on, I don't know how he going to replace, because he's one of those persons who really can't replace. You see what I mean? So when it comes to experiences and having the skill set and pushing yourself and tweaking things, all these things you can't just learn over a year, 2 years, 3 years, because it means you have to do all the do's, and then you realize don't do this and then do that. So he have mastered all these things. So the 2 new items coming out for this Agriculture Open Day will be a lamb sausage. So lamb sausage, and then the next one will be roasted chicken rolls. But apart from that, what Gary is doing is practically moving the whole abattoir down in the park, because he'll be having rotisserie chicken, he'll be having pig head and goat head and cow head, all the bone already. You'll have all the tribes, all the pig foot, whatever you can think of. You know what I mean? what you call it, your burger patties, you you call it your bacon, your whole chicken, rotisserie, hams, just everything you can think about. As they said, the whole abattoir down there. And once Gary done ready, reach down and ready by 7 o'clock, by 6:30, Gary ready to sell. Ready to sell. So in the whole bars, it's all about setting up, come to serve the people. And now some of the other boats will be waiting until later from 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock to start sell. The abattoir don't work like that. So come on in. Gary say he have everything, all the mutton, all the beef you want, the different choice cut. He ready, like ready. So definitely, yes, son. I know they should have contenders coming over from Sabre and Station, all these different places and stuff like that. To be a part of the activity. Usually when the Sabre and Station come over, the people come to spend money. So everybody tend to benefit from all these different areas and stuff like that. So it shows that the event could even be handled a few times a year. I know in St Kitts they postponed the agricultural open day. I mean, I was surprised to see the article said it was postponed from the 1st and 2nd of May and now move. Well, I'm not sure if they say what if they postpone that there is the date, so don't. Well, I guess they will come out and say when is the date and what and the reason for all these different stuff and explanations. So I don't wanna go over my head and start make things that I ain't supposed to say. So I guess the officials will say the reason why from the general public why it is postponed and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I know the people on the street is having their own debate and stuff like that and saying it should have been they could have at least keep it and then keep a next one whenever you want to move it to next date or whatever it is. So let's see what they have to say when they come to the ministry or the minister, whoever, or the director, who would have to come and answer the discussion to general public, what the reason is, and I know folks will be making preparation for these times and stuff like that. Because look, it's one the corner. Nevis one is next week, and then as you look, April start, and then boom, it's practically April finish right there. So it's a short time to cancel. Also, you have some cancellation with the Inter High also. I mean, we create a little debate and stuff like that. So a lot of cancellation, and then Inter Premier coming up. Not sure how that gonna go. I'm not sure if everything is in order. The track, all the lights is working and stuff like that. So hopefully everything work out fine. At least these sports, I think, should at least start from 9 o'clock in the morning, as far as I see. You know, what I mean, would they have lights or not? Just have practically they start this them early. Even if you only slap the half, that's fine. Who gonna show up will show up, and I just have a whole day. If that's the case, just make it a holiday and just start these activities early, so at least the children them get home at the early time. If the sports finish by 5 o'clock, that's fine. You see what I mean? If you wanna have after thing, whatever it is for, but at least the children can get out of the older folks much don't want to stick around. Then they figure out stuff like that. You see what I mean? But having these sports going on in the evening is just crazy. Yes. But that's my part for now, Yasun.
Okay. I was just smiling at the one of the comments I see there from Alan in regards to something he was saying there in regards to
The
the
Maroons
Maroon.
in New Orleans.
Yeah,
Well, I know
yeah.
just growing up and then being around in people in New Orleans conversation and different history teachers and stuff like that, they'll mention that area up there. I'm not sure when it comes to the research paper if they have any evidence, but it is said that that area up in Zetland, and even if you speak to a few people in Ireland, they'll tell you that hill they name Maroon Hill, which I mean, I don't know this thing, but they will tell you this thing and pass it on from the family line. Family, those these are. So, if anyone in New Orleans area know about these, about Maroon Hill up in the Zetland area where they said the enslaves used to run away and stuff like that, I mean, they can always add their discussion or any information that they have because all these things are new to me too, but I know speaking to different people over the years, and I know few who will tell you, yes, this hill there. So when you go up by Bab, which we are by Wise and them living that the Kala got the Cocoa got, I want the deep got, you'll hear it till you have a hill there, and that's the hill near Maroon Hill. So if information is there and it is suppressed, if once you start to research it, I mean things start to come out the woodwork as you know it. So, Alan, I'm to like you seeking information the same way.
But Alan, your case tonight, boy, I'm telling you.
Well,
Alan, your
in
case
my case,
tonight.
wait, what?
But anyway, he said he would like to debate the Maroons in Rollins. They gonna show me that. But
Yes.
I've been where they say. Me not mind the
Mm-hmm.
evening thing because I want places to go. I have heard many birds sing so many songs. So I guess you mean, you
Of
heard
course.
about it, which in that's the reality. However, what it does for me though, when I do hear this thing, that is why when you said it, I said I would really love to like get to speak to people who could relate to such
Of
information and so
course.
on. Um,
Yes.
um, like a couple of days ago, I was listening to a program. I think it's on St Kitts, and someone was talking about the history, and they were talking about this zoo that they had down Sandy Point, and they were saying they had like giraffe and zebras and those kind of things and St. Kitts, right? And the person who was talking about that, they were saying I think that was back in the 70s and so on. But then they went back further and they were saying there was a point in our history on Nevis where camels
Mm-hmm.
were introduced on the island of Nevis. So they said that they had brought in camels to use as a part of agriculture, but it was not successful. But
Mm-hmm.
actually, that is a part of our history. Now, we hearing that, and that would be like far fetched to a lot of us and so on. But it brings us to the fact and the point that a lot of our history is not taught within our system. We have an education system that is geared towards what is considered general education. And so there's a
Yes.
curriculum set up that you're supposed to know a basic amount of information that you could function effectively within a society that has already been created for you. So that is the sort of education system that we have. As a result of that, you have a curriculum designed to just produce that people with what is considered general information. So a lot of the information that you end up with after school, that is why a lot of people learn a lot more things after they finish with formal schooling than when they are going through the formal school system. So a lot of things that we really should have learn about, that we shouldn't have to be questioning now. So I mean, I understand um, some of the questioning that Alan and many others would have when it comes to a lot of the things that are historical, is because we
Mm-hmm.
lack um, a lot of that history. I mean, we celebrated 90 years of the Buckley's uprising, but how many people even know about it? Imagine you're celebrating something for 90 years, and many people and Nevis don't even know about the history of the Buckley's uprising. Many people don't even know the significance. A lot of these things are only maintained to some extent as a result of the Rastafari community and the fact that the Rastafari community would have sought to, over the years, associate
Your son.
themselves with Africa and their consciousness and their indigenous roots versus adapting the remnants of the colonial system. And that has been one of the major wars within Rastafari, between Rastafari and the community, even though, as cannabis is going to be one of our topics tonight, cannabis is what they use to criminalize Rastafari and make Rastafari seem like we're some sort of criminals, when the reality is what they really were fighting is the fact that Rastafari was opening up the consciousness of the massive to not accept the Westminster and all of the other perks of what King Charles and his, monarchy
But, but,
represented,
yes,
and
but
to
your son,
maintain our indigenousness.
you got to remember, and I realize we're very forgetful as a people, It's just there in the 60s, your fight for civil rights. You can't even go on a bus. You can't even share the same toilet, the same restaurant, and all these different. Just there in the 60s. That's just the other day, You see what I mean? And there are people who live
Mhm.
here in the 60s the same way and in the 70s and stuff like that and go to the Vietnam War and join and people go to England. And when they go to those places, they got to deal with all this prejudice the same way. Remember, we people that travel all it from long, long time, going to all these places, but then they're gonna be facing all these negative things. You see, so when you go back 90 years, you see how far you're gone back, but you see how far this thing come right up. So these things don't fade away. Yes, you might go and see everybody intertwined now and mixed up and this and that, but you still have the classes and stuff like that. So these are things that are taught. People are taught to hate and all this different stuff. So things just don't go away just like that because they say, oh yeah, but we can still share the same restaurant and bathroom. But then I mean, people don't feel you understand, being the true self, that we can just ignore it or whatever, but you see play out through society in different ways and stuff like that. So it's just the other day. You see what I mean? These things are just there. This is not let people forget these things. But as people get accepted in
Well,
other different
Banky,
ways, yes.
really, is it that we don't forget these things, or is it that some of these things which you mentioned were done in an effort to help to cause us to forget these things? So that inclusion that you're talking about, where because now you feel that okay, we could use the same bathrooms and we equal to get the same jobs, and we could, what I mean, cause us now and many to not want to
Hmm.
be rebellious anymore and really stand up and fight for
Well,
equality.
they think
So instead of
people think the
instead of
world is
really
is have
fighting for
is not.
equal right,
Yes.
you
No,
settle
what
with
I'm saying, they
peace.
think the world because they say things because they trust the people who are taught to trust the preacher, trust the politician, trust the this, trust the that, trust those who they say, you know what I mean, the PhDs and the this and all kind of different things and whatever. Trust those are the leaders, and you understand, and those who dress nice and but they should see things opposite. You see, they should see things opposite. Whatever you're told to, don't look up to, do opposite because those are the one who you trust and those are the one who are gonna hurt you. You see what I mean? 'Cause it's just a scheme. It's just a con, and that's just the reality. It's too obvious. It's right in your face. In If you wanna, everything is just about choices, and if your intention to do good, you will do good. You see what I mean? That's just what it is. You see, but yes, on it's just food security. I mean, that is always an issue. I mean, you really got to encourage our people to go more food. But if you're going to be going more food and moving towards, I had the gist of the global climate um meeting there at Christoph Harbour this week. Last week it
Hmm.
was. I time to fly so far sometime with all the different
Hmm.
Caribbean countries and PS and stuff like that. So if you're gonna be going towards, I mean, the environment and sustainability and all these terminologies, you got to show the evidence where when you're gonna move, if you're gonna be moving towards agriculture and all these different stuff and a better farming system where you're gonna be cutting back a lot of these herbicides, this glyphosate, this Roundup, this weedless, and all these different. You understand what I mean? And more safer stuff that is more plant based and neem products. So you need to cut. If you're not going to have this discussion and not have these pesticides and herbicides and stuff like that, that's going to harm the bees and our waterways and the environment itself. And plus, you, the farmer, took all these places that smart. I mean, and then with type of water system, if you want to be planting more food, you want to be drilling more, you want to keep building more hotels. Where all this water will come from? When you're drilling wells, are you drilling wells just for potable water? Are you drilling well intention? Also, to reach to these farm areas. But these are discussion we really is not even being had. And these are simple common sense in a virgin. You see what I mean? Me don't like complicated things. Me like simple things. The more simple it is, and the more easy it works and
Yeah,
stuff like
but
that.
it comes down to priorities, Banky. At the end of the day,
Yes.
um, you know, we
So
would
food
say
is a
it's common
priority.
sense.
So food is not a priority, and on water and all these are basic things.
Priority depending on how you are looking at it,
Hmm.
because that's what I'm saying. It is a priority if it is made available. So if
Yes.
the boats continue to come and the supermarket shelves are filled, um, the priority to make sure that food is available is addressed. So if I am thinking from that perspective, then that other side that we are talking about here is not so much a priority to highlight these things. It may be convenient when there's a delegation talking about climate and food crisis and so on. You know, you find that that's one of the things that I find that is very good about a lot of the politicians and people sometimes in certain positions. When it's convenient, they could have a very well articulated speech to suit the occasion. But then when you really start peeling back the fruit and look at the actions and the plans and proposals in terms of taking the necessary steps to do what we know would be necessary to show that, okay, you're really serious about making these moves, then we see something um, totally different. Okay, so for example, like as simple as what we are doing here, for
Mm-hmm.
example, with a crisis like food security that we do have, why do neither the Nevis Island government or the federal government have an agricultural program similar to what we are having to focus on whether it's backyard gardening and all of these little things and tips and letting people know, the farmers know where they could get whatever, and information is flowing and everything is transparent, and any disease they know that is affecting or it could become a threat or whatever, they come and talk to the
They
people
have
and
one.
people
They have one, your son, and I said
where.
on the farm, and I send you a clip today on the
No, no,
farm
no,
where
no,
they
no,
have
no, no,
different.
no, no, no,
Wait,
no.
what?
Here's what I'm saying.
You on a weekly, you on a weekly program? I mean,
Like what we are doing, that's what I'm saying. I said like what we are doing.
oh,
Why
gotcha.
why is there not something like that that demonstrates that we're really serious about agriculture? So I am not saying that to disapprove, because the both ministries, I'm seeing a lot of things coming from the the same on the farm thing that you're talking about on the Navy side. And in terms of the Ministry
Mm-hmm.
of Agriculture and St Kitts, they do post a lot of things on social media and so on. So I'm not saying that they're not doing anything in terms of presenting information out there, but I'm saying in terms of with such a crisis, something like this is absolutely necessary. We are doing this without any, we are not affiliated to any of the governments. We are doing
Yeah.
this without being paid. We are doing this as just making a contribution and a commitment to the seriousness and really realizing that these are issues that need to be addressed. And we make it our business to eventually invite guests and related guests with related expertise and various topics to help to inform the public and continue to encourage the public, because we know it is something that is very, very serious and very, very critical. So I'm saying, I just use that example as to say that is one of the
Mm-hmm.
things, the many things that they can do to demonstrate that this is something that is serious.
Well, you see, your son, if
Uh-huh.
you ain't going to take, if you're not going to take agriculture, which is your own survival, serious, then nobody's supposed to take. Because it doesn't matter what your portfolio is, any minister at any time should be able to speak on agriculture. Because for your survival, even if you plant flowers, at least the tree is giving you oxygen. You see what I'm trying to show you? So it's important to have trees and different stuff plant, and because at the same time they're keeping your life too. So ain't nothing named a bad tree at the end of the day, because we breathe out carbon dioxide in the trees. We are going to take back all these different byproducts and give us oxygen to breathe. So we really have to really, if we're not looking at it right now, we come into the summertime, everybody gonna be bad, the place hot and they want AC, but most people then they just have the yard open up, nothing plant in the yard. You see what I mean? Yes, we have issues. We have monkey and loose and donkeys and different stuff, but they are programs. But you see, if you're serious about these things, you'll put all the right things in place. That's just how simple it is. It's like if you're serious to helping farmers and small businesses, you'll put 100 and $150 million into an environment where they can have access to all these funds, whether it's up to $500,000, it's a grant, you don't have to pay back, but you have training classes where they can learn to manage the money and all this different stuff. And then over $500,000, they pay a 0.5%, less than 1%. And they give them a grace period of a year to up to $2-3 million. That's to encourage the fishermen to have bigger boats and go do longer fishing and all this different stuff. You want those who into farming to seek and purchase land so they could become landowners, and young businessmen and female can buy a land and sit down and build up a building on it and rent it out. Because entrepreneurs, because they must spend the money, Once you give people money, they have to spend. Because remember, they're wasting $300 and $400 million disappear. Poof, 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 just like a wind. And nobody want to talk about that. So which means we can give our each native $1 million or more a year time or every 5 years, or we don't want to put it. Because the resources are there. We take in money and bringing out our kind of investors when we can invest in our own people, let them buy shares. You see what I mean? Into a lot of these. I hear when the minister in St Kitts Mr. Maynard's talking about they borrowed $40 million from the Saudis to do a solar farm, and the next 20 million for geothermal and all this different stuff. I said, wow. Well, if you want to raise $20 million, you can't just sell $20 million shares to the general public. But just give me a final number, how much you cost to get this geothermal out to the ground. Up to now, you can't get a number. I mean, I understand what kind of project this will be. You want to get geothermal, but you can't cost $400 million up and running. But nobody could get a number, but you spend all these, you get all these millions and millions and millions. 20 years ago, so much done waste by NRP, by CCM, and now the same thing now. Me can't understand this thing, Virgin. You can't bring a project to me and tell me this is where you're going to cost, this is when you're going to be hooked up. You just said this is just, I mean, this basket now hold water. I don't function with stuff like that. So nobody know how long something like this gonna cost, where you gonna take, and all this different stuff with all these bright people. This not new. This is a new project. So what you just can't say and cost 200 million, 300 million, and then you take at least 1 year, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years. Well, you can't
Well,
say.
if I am managing the business, let's use the government as the business, and nobody, I don't have to account to anybody. Nobody come in to question me about what I'm going to do or whatever. Then I do whatever.
Do
So
whatever
however I have
what.
to spend
How much
money,
money
spend the money.
NRP have spent and drilling
Well,
wells here and there throughout Nevis? Sissy and can drill more well. They say, well, they have to plug it up. People get moving rig, $1 million just to move a rig.
how
Boy,
many of
this makes
you,
sense,
how many of
Virgin.
you bankies, how many bankies are asking the question that bankies are asking? How many people
Yes, son.
were asking to
Me do
get these
common
kind of
sense things,
information?
Remember, me has asked questions since Miss Smart, You always start to question things. When I just do the
No,
same thing. Me no change,
the point I'm
Why,
making,
why, 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 why?
banky, the
Oh
point I'm
my
making,
goodness.
banky, you would be asking the question. You might be asking the question, but many are not asking those questions. Which in the point I'm making is it is incumbent on the people to be asking the
Okay. Let me
employees
ask
these
let me ask
questions.
this
So you need a
question,
lot
yeah.
more people to be thinking like you and asking
Okay,
these
let me
kind of
ask this
questions to them
question.
so that you could get answers.
Okay, let me ask the Premier and the cabinet, along with Dr. Drew and his cabinet. You understand? How much money it gonna take to get the geothermal? I seem like a Navy today up and running. How much power gonna come out of it, and what gonna be the agreement, and how much Navy is gonna get when Navy? I think Navy don't turn it over to as a federal. So I know what Navy's percentage is gonna be. If Navy's gonna get 25% and Think it get 75%, since Think it cover all the fees and whatever, and now we become a national treasure now. So which means we don't want you to. So I would like the Premier to come and explain these things. Spencer Brand, I mean, he and Van Radio and Mr. Eric Evelyn, all of them, even Troy but I mean, Carlin sits on the Norgana, so anybody should be able to speak on these things because I don't understand over 20 years when you talk about this geothermal thing and so much. If you have to check out the millions that spent by both parties and still a spend and still a borrow and all this, boy, we need kindergarten people in the country, boy. Because
Okay, so
piece
I
together
am
and make the
hoping
sense,
that
brethren. Eh?
they are listening. I'm hoping that Mr. Brantley, Troy, and
The
Eric
common
and
sense things,
our
brethren.
brothers are listening. And if not, somebody could listen and take the clip back and get them to find out, get the answers to
I
the
want,
question
you
that Bank
know,
is asking
who
in
owns
terms of
geothermal? That's why I know who owns geothermal.
man,
Can know the Prime Minister
who
say
owns geothermal,
geothermal is a
how much money they
national
spend so far, how
treasure.
much money is going to
A
cost
treasure, you say?
to, how much is going to
Yes.
cost to get it up and running and get it going. What else you say you want
Complete
to
and
know?
complete. I want to go
Complete.
complete. And no, no, if you're gonna start, you're gonna start drill. You don't get thing drill. You're gonna finish by
Uh-huh.
2025, next 2 years. And you're gonna finish the next 5 years and the next 10 years. And why the next 10 years? What the final payment gonna be? 200 million done with all the building done, build all the land going on. This I want to know it gonna be. That this don't make no sense. How you
Well,
can say what
okay.
project gonna be? But this is like the building we built up yesterday by the governor's thing. But this not even get a cost. So this even still different. Because just a drill and this don't make no sense. This don't make no kind of sense. When this is done like dance make not able to pay for the light.
Well,
You
you
not get the
see,
numbers.
we
It's funny.
we until the people realize their true power and true potential, um, those who are aware of their ignorance will continue to prey on their ignorance and continue to use the reverse psychology that is being used all along, where they are your highest paid employees, they're your highest paid servants. And after you hire them, they turn around and make you feel like they are the bosses and you start calling them boss. Yeah, the boss. They ain't no boss. You need to hold them accountable. You need to demand. They don't have no right to be telling you about your noise. That's disrespect. How somebody who working for you and you come and ask them about the job. You know, ask them about your personal business. I'm asking you about the job that you're doing for me, and you want to diss me and say me a noise, ignore the noise. But we allow these things to continue. So um, until the people begin to realize that that is part of what they need to do in a democratic society. Part of the role is for them to elect these people, and these people are accountable to them. But maybe Banky, it starts from the premise that these people, after being elected, pay allegiance to King Charles, his heirs, and his successors, and don't pay allegiance to the people. So maybe the reality is they don't have any allegiance to the people. So after they get elected, they function in allegiance to who, function with who they have allegiance to. And so all of these things we really need to work on getting fixed as well. Um,
So even if they pledge to the people, then they don't commit to they don't change and commit to the people. These are just choices.
if what?
Yeah. So even if they pledge to the people, I pledge to you, the people of Holy and Laia Mega, and to swear I will do right. Then I go do wrong. Then I change my mind and do wrong
No,
again.
no,
And waste 80.
me saying they're not going to. I'm not saying that they're not going to, but
So it's
it shows
choices
you
then.
initially it shows you the premise that they're still on. And if
Yes, but
they
it's
stop any
choices.
problem with if there's a problem with a premise like that, then that would have been corrected. Not in 2025, you're still telling me that you're supposed to be independent. And even up to now, look at it. I hear Jamaica making some moves in terms of becoming a republic. Barbados would have already made some moves. The prime minister, when he got into power here on St Kitts, when they had something in England, he said there in England that he will definitely seek to get St Kitts and Nevis to become a republic during his reign. But ever since that I've never heard any utterance. We have not heard any debates or any you know, anything to engage that topic within the people. So sometimes, you know, you really do have to wonder about these things. And so the consciousness of these things, it is left to us. And this is part of why I have been saying for the past couple of years, it's part of my motto. I find a lot of people sometimes critique and criticize the politicians. Um, I am of the view that the politicians are playing their role. They're doing what they know that they need to do in order to win, because their objective is to win a seat. I'm not certain if the part about taking on the responsibility of the people is adhered to, or working for the people is adhered to. But in terms of the ability to win, that is what they're all about. So it's you, the people, now have to be able to see through that and be able to protect yourself after putting these people there, knowing that you can't allow them to continue to use the divide and rule techniques to keep you pitted against each other, even over issues that should be a national issue, that you get so divided along political lines like a gang that no care what. You know what I mean? You're supporting your party, or you're supporting your color, you're supporting your representative, even if you know they're dead wrong.
Yeah, but you gotta hold your representative accountable, yes, son. In the House in December, November, you hear the Minister of Agriculture spoke and said, in the first quarter, we call the lady again, Madam Speaker, we're gonna start second phase at Indian Castle. Well, which month this will be, yes, son? This is the and going on the end next week end the first quarter, end it. You understand? And the minister called in on a talk show Wednesday and spoke about
We
culture rama and releasing culture. How come they releasing culture rama jingles and all this different stuff and dancing? But of course, you could just imagine in the background dancing and wailing and all kind of stuff for the jingle and pushing culture rama and stuff like that. I mean, here tourism pushing Mango Festival coming up, and that was before culture rama and all this stuff. And then he went on and speak a little bit about open day. But I hear him mention that the month finish and the female have to know he too have a role to play when it comes to Indian Castle and phase two, because it's all about food security. So you now maintain phase one. Right now, agriculture open day is next week, Thursday. And I would like the minister and the manager come on to the and let the general public know how much crop having come out to take part in agriculture open day for the second time since they've been under their management. Ain't no food coming out of down there is not contributing to nothing. All they're getting excuses. The same hot peppers they're talking about for the Tabasco. Only out is those that kids but they harvesting from, and because you have to big up Tilak and Star Black along with Dwight Brown and this stuff that is over there. Because those that the planted Indian Castle, they're dead. They don't bury, they didn't even flower. You see what I mean? They died at seedling. So you see you got 3 months to go crop on the first week you plant them, they're dead. This thing don't make no sense. So how you gonna start phase two? So who lying to who? So the premier gonna let his minister make this kind of statement in the house. And no, you're gonna clean the land. We don't get more water from if you don't say there's an issue with water at Indian Castle. So how you gonna have then you're gonna do next 60 acres then? So everything got I did it with simple common sense in a virgin, yes. I mean I complicate things, because everything was laid out when I was
I
there.
explained
You
to
understand?
you, I explained
Uh-huh.
to you a little bit earlier, I explained to you a little bit earlier. You said something earlier and you were talking something about 1960 something, and you said that was just the other day and
Yes.
people forget. And but Banky, the reality is we're living in a 9-day thing. And this is why I said to you, I am not
So
vexed
you
with the
really believe that?
politicians. I am
You
not
really
vexed with
believe
the
we live in a
politicians,
9-day
because the
thing?
politicians are aware of it and they take advantage of it, because they know they tell you this. Remember earlier I said to you, when it comes to an event, let's say it's World Food Day, it's agriculture, something, World Planted Day or something, you would find them have one of the most eloquent speeches to make fit in for the season and the topic. And that's it, because you're gonna get that story at that point, and it's gonna be very timely and all that. And then 5 days after, 9 days after, I forget about that again. So then now they tell you in the house that they're gonna do this thing third quarter with the expectation that nobody who doesn't even listen to the house. Majority of the people don't even listen to the house. So some wouldn't even know that they did say that. And to those who say it, they expect you to forget about that the third quarter thing. They expect you to come back. I mean, and then they might come back and telling us, no, you bring it up, or somebody bring it up. Then they come with an excuse, and then some give some nice story that you hold on to for another 9 days again until you forget about it again. And so this is why I'm saying, and this is why I keep saying, my shift is to talk to the people in terms of dealing with accountability. So now this trend that I am saying that is ever so evident with the 7 day and 9 day thing that maybe seem like you ain't want to accept, get
No,
people
me
to
not
realize
accept
that
that.
this is what is being played out on them and take action. So start to, when these things happen, say, okay, no, yeah, you just like how you come in and say, no, hey, you did say at the end, at the beginning of the first quarter, you're going to do this. Well, you ain't doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to have more people now that begin to do this. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of the accountability. So this is why I'm saying I'm shifting it from blaming the politicians, because they will do it if they could get away with it, and if they could get away with it and win.
Yes, son.
But why did you
Watch it.
change the status quo?
Watch it.
It is
Watch
up to
this.
you all
I
now
remember.
to start to do what you're doing so that the status
You
quo could
remember,
change.
right? You remember going by the hospital? He used to have the nurses and them. He used to have like a house there for the matron
Mm-hmm.
them, like a big building there. You know what I'm talking about? The wooden building and
Yeah,
stone
yeah,
building. You remember, right?
yeah,
Them
yeah.
man broke down the building and then good building, you know, 'cause people use them, you know. So people are in the
Mm-hmm.
building and them, you know, as offices.
Mm-hmm.
Them man broke them down more than 5 years now. Just haul them apart. Something coming soon. Not a thing built yet. Just some steel building. Just just some steel there in the weather. I get weather and stone pile up some down a stone the governor and some. You can't make up them things, brethren. How you gonna just broke down building that is being used? And you know you're not gonna do resources to go build back something right away. So years for years, this is not gonna build again, you know? Me tell this guy about 6, 7, 10 years. This make the sense, brethren. You can't make up them things here. I don't know how. And then the same person who do this, and the same person who join the plan in the hospital, you know? You know the hospital at a standstill. Yes, son, I will not take a job to go burn coal. I'm going to set up a coal pit. You understand? I will not take a job to go do plumbing in a man's house. I'm not a plumber. I ain't gonna take on a job to go wire man house. I'm an electrician. Well, me gonna have to get, if I get the job, or if I take the job, how come twice the job? I mean, I have to offer an electrician to give you the plan, twice the
You
job,
see,
material
Banky,
thing, and
this
then
is where I'm saying,
send in the price. Huh?
man, man,
The,
how you gonna differ,
these are
when it comes to
common
these things,
sense things, brethren. These are
Yeah, but
common
here,
sense things. That,
as common sense as that is, all these things that you just pointed out to me, right? That
yes.
individual that you're speaking about put up themselves to be the representative, and people voted the individual to be the representative. So, based on all that you're saying and all that he maybe promised and did not do, the people still put him there. So, should I have a problem with the politician? No. I have a problem with the people. And so that is why I keep saying I am saying that something is wrong with the people and accountability and being able to articulate all of these things that you're saying and being able to gain the traction with these things that you're saying that really should be of major concern to the people, but for some reason, um, it is not being interpreted and dealt with the way one would believe that I would want to believe that it should be dealt with. And so sometimes I really do wonder about our people. And as I speak about that, cannabis again fits into this
Yeah,
thing because
I hear trying to get in Sankofa, but he having some difficulties. He online, he hearing us, but he can't speak and get the camera on and
yeah,
so forth.
because
So trying to figure it out.
I am happy that he opted to want to come on to talk about this thing because I have been looking at some of the things that I am seeing in that's making the circles in the news media, social media, in terms of certain charges and people being arrested for cannabis and all this thing. And I'm saying to myself, like, um, this issue really needs to be addressed because you can't tell me, well, a couple of things, because remember to on Tuesday we highlighted the fact that on Nevis, when I spoke to the people who are responsible for the importation of seeds on Nevis, and I asked a question in relation to cannabis, I was told that cannabis seeds is restricted in terms of importation on the island of Nevis. And I am questioning, well, if we are supposed to be decriminalizing an industry and you're expecting the people in the country to benefit from the industry, well, and again, the industry is placed under agriculture, meaning now it's just another agricultural crop, just like tomato, lettuce, and cucumber. And if one is supposed to be an effective cucumber farmer, you would expect that that person would want to get cucumber seeds. So if somebody is going to be effective as a cannabis farmer, cultivator, they would need to be able to import seeds. So to tell me that they are restricted, but an industry is supposed to be built is not making much sense to me. But then again, part of the problem that we are having is those who are in the position to be able to provide the information to clarify some of these issues and challenges that are being faced by the public are not coming forward. And obviously, they're not coming forward to the public, and seemingly, they're not coming forward and forthright with those who are charged with maintaining the law and order. Because if they were and are, then the police would not be reacting the way they are if they are informed in terms of the changes in the legislation and what they should and should not be doing in regards to know that regulations have been shifted in regards to cannabis. And so a lot of these things, I really would love to hear more from Sankofa on some of the things that are happening on the ground, some of the things that he is aware of in terms of the legislations, because he himself would have been very instrumental in causing some of the changes and some of the changes in such a quick time, so to speak. So it would be very, very interesting to hear some of what's going on. And it is definitely clear that we do need some people to help to, push forward the cannabis agenda, put some serious plans and regulations and training in place, even training those who might be a part of the body that they have, the regulatory body that they have set up. I'm seeing that there's a position being made available for the CEO
CEO
of the body. Also in Grenada as well, I'm seeing application for, I think it's the CEO as well for the Grenada Cannabis board. And so, and this is the thing, I mean.
Okay, yes, son.
I-
I'm gonna have to call
yes.
Sankofa on his phone and do the interview on the phone. At least that goes out. That will go a big help. Again, some difficulty
Okay.
getting
Yeah.
on.
No problem. Yeah.
Excuse me.
But one of the things, Banky, sometimes in a lot of cases,
Greetings.
Yeah, blessing.
Tell him you gotta turn down his radio, wherever he listening to, and just listen to the phone.
Young guy, turn down the next device and cover and move away from the next device.
Yeah, and just listen to the phone. Let him listen to the
And
phone.
just listen
Otherwise,
to
we don't get
the
feedback.
Yeah, trying to listen to the program, really.
No, you can't do both. You can't do both. Just listen to the phone and move away from the next room.
Okay, give thanks. Well, I heard everything that the elder was just reasoning still. And I definitely agree with his position and the fact that you cannot be actually trying to say that you have a cannabis industry that you're trying to create, accomplish, and you're still arresting people for marijuana, not just the seeds itself, because he was specifically talking about the seeds and the importation of seeds. But even on island, there have recently been at least enough for one for sure.
We ain't hearing him, Banky. You need to bring him back up to the mic. We ain't hearing him.
I got to plant in his yard for him to have in his person. There's just like a little difference between the Rastafari position, because I argue my case also on a religious, spiritual, sacred ground, same way still. Rastafari still have the benefit to have, certain amount of herb in their position, which is almost like unlimited, because there really wasn't a number put towards I and I when it comes to certain things. And also, and that's within our house, in our privacy, and out there in the sense of on a farm where you have like a spiritual gathering or what's not. You can go more than the 5 trees, as much trees. But the only thing is that they still don't want us to be able to reap those trees as Rastafari for on a spiritual way of life, and use it for material gains in a sense. So this is where now I guess we would have to reason with the government and negotiate with the governments on certain levels. But my thing is basically, being that the judge don't give us so much rights and so much blessings, we should just go forward and activate and just work like obviously Banky moved out last year with his trees done at a festival, and they were able to go forward with that energy there, and it was presented well, and people bought, and he make money. We can all of us know we believe in just industrializing, and I don't think Rasta should get that just a special privilege. I'm gonna be honest. Even though we've been through the trial and the tribulation, but for us, the general public still should have the opportunity to have the herb, because the herb was created for man, and woman, which is when you say man, we are also including women still. And we should have that privilege, because yes, we was the one who pushed forward the herb, and we get a lot of destruction for the herb. But when you really look at the arrest records, more ballheads was arrested for herb than Rasta. And I sit down and I penetrate this thing the other day. And when I did it on the religious grounds, I also did it on the privacy so that the general public could be covered. But what the government did, instead of allowing the general public to have access to herb like how the Rasta have, they limit them to the trees, the amount of trees, and still they're telling them, even within their household, you can't have too much of herb. I don't know what's the limit that they put on that there still. But for I, these limits doesn't really supposed to be existing, But you still, as a Rasta, cannot plant any amount in your yard, but at your spiritual grounds you could, So it's like it's ticklish where we half in, half out. There's some special aspect of the laws was given for I as Rasta, but generally, if we go out there in the public, they still only want to stop 2 ounces of weed. You see it, so they still kind of limit us with moving the weed from one to the end. And then they're still not allowing us to have open trade, just like that same way still, even amongst I as Rasta. So there's still more places to go forward with this energy still, and my mission is to make sure that nobody ever be arrested, period, for ganja again, ever in a St Kitts and Nevis. And we ain't fully accomplished it, so it look like it's a pathway. The government could have set a better deal in a sense still, because there was negotiations with ORU, with other bridges and sisters CMS still, but them never was faithful in their honoring the judge in the way that we wanted it to be honored. So there was a lot of conflict of interest in trying to get the law, the new law put forward. And then they put forward a lot of the new law without our input. Even though we gave them our input, they didn't study. That was the Timothy Harris government I'm talking specifically, because it's during that time there when this thing was happening. No, the reality, to them could have come and change certain things in the laws to make it more comfortable for I and I. They said that they did that. They did come and negotiate with Rasta, well, some of our groups that we're part of still. But generally, most other Rastas wasn't there. So even though we had reasoning, the input of other Rastas would have been null and void, because we can't represent everybody, because each of us think different. That's the reality. You see it? So I feel like we keep going back and forth, but if they just legalize herb straight up and let everybody and just have it as a commodity like a sugar, flour, and them things there, and allow us to do what we can do, I think we will benefit more from an arrangement like that. And I think that's where we have to go forward. Because once they do that, they know they can't be going around arresting other persons for neither. And as Rasta, we can't just look out for ourselves. We have to look out for the whole general. There's many persons who are not Rasta.
Oh, put back the phone up by the mic, Banky.
Non-stop. And they continue even up on this time. So I said, to be fair, that the government should look more towards legalization and setting limits on the outside organization. Them try to come and, like take over the industry, allow us to industrialize. And even if we have to link up with an agency from overseas, we must have investment in the company still, similar to what Antigua did, So it's like, and in that way, we will benefit more financially in certain ways. But actually, if a person just continue to plant home and sell home and just create a niche market for a particular product, they can actually make money now while the system is still in a limbo, because that's what we're doing. We got at least 3-4 herb products differently than the ganja itself, like byproducts from the herb. We just sell seeds, we just sell basically cannabis oil is a more infusion method we sell, but I also trade with other persons who use extraction, straight extraction, and then mix it back a little bit with some coconut oil. So we definitely we self making a little change from the herb right now, differently than the natural planting of the herb. And we make herb juice, herb teas. When we have our markets, we get them selling in abundance. You see it? So we give thanks and have somebody working on herb cream and other products as well too. So I feel like that is where we have to do. We could make cannabis powder. Just take some of the taps, what we call taps, when you're bushing your weed, that thing there. And you just grind it up fine, cure it properly. And then you grind it up fine with a little bit of the buds in it. And you make a cannabis powder. You can put it in your cakes. You could sell it straight up like that. Cannabis powder, $5-10. At the last Kaya market, we had these things selling, And we didn't see Banky, we didn't see you. I know you're up in foreign. Sometimes we might have to fly in for some of these things. But right now, they're having a market over in, it's not just even a market. It's a conference, like a workshop /conference, because it's a Rasta conference with the Caribbean Rastafari organization slated at the same time that they're actually having a cannabis workshop, and that's going to be in Antigua, in April. So all these things we got to sometimes be there and make our voice be heard, because the model that Antigua have is a little different than ours, and it's still a little different than St. Vincent. So we have to either decide whether we're gonna come together and try to have one model as Rastafari to bring forth to the government, or we just accept the fact that each government think differently and dealing with it differently, so you might not be able to have that same model in every Caribbean country because we're not running the country them yet. Right, Banky?
Yes, sir. But you realize even if the general public want to have 5 trees, they have to get permission to go to 5 trees. Is a lot of legislation is put in place to go.
That part is not 100% accurate. It's just that they have to be over 18. You see it, and they have it. You go you go to 5 trees,
and it's for house. It's not for individual.
It's the public. That's it. That's in the law.
The 5 trees is not for each individual. It is said it's for 5 per household. 5 trees per household. So even if a tenant live in
another problem.
If a tenant live in the house, 5 trees for the household, not for each are you.
And if 3 of them trees they become man tree, how much time you don't waste before you got to go put back in the next fresh set of just to get the rest couple trees or 3 trees that you're missing. So at the end of the day, they tie you up. So when you plant 9 trees thinking that you could break it down to 5,
yes, sir,
because you got to pull up to them, you still got yourself in a lot of problem, because they come while you're having that, they're not going to even differentiate and say this is a man tree. Because in the past, what we got to realize, man trees are legal to have the St Kitts. When we look at the fact that they used to be taking man trees and making us go through when you read the actual law, it is about THC was the problem. Is the tetrahydrocannabinol was the problem, because they didn't know anything about no CBD at the time, but they knew that the male trees doesn't really have that, and seeds wasn't illegal either in the old law.
Of course.
So technically, you could have go hemp or you couldn't go cannabis, because what they man they fight is not just the cannabis, because look, a lot of places hemp was always legal and was never illegal. Is the cannabis with the THC is what they was fighting, because they know that they don't know, because people start making rope and all these things with hemp, and they knew that they have these chemicals, I don't like to call them nutrients within the herb. They put names to them, and they know what some of these nutrients can do, even medically, serious still. And that is what they was fighting. They took the herb from us, secretly put it in a lamb, and then secretly want to give it back to us. Because when you really check it out, all the Cannabis Commission is meeting secretly without the input of the public. It's just like putting 5 and 6 and 7 and 10 men by the side, and they're not coming to enough groups or even individual farmers to have discussions so that they know exactly what we're thinking fully. So it's just become like a secret society. Not disrespecting any of the rasters that is on the commission, but we were able, the last career market, to actually get the head of the cannabis authority, which is not the CEO really, but the chairperson of the whole thing. Yes. She was there and she made some remarks. And to tell you the honest truth, they seem like they're really more going into medical marijuana, and that medical marijuana is not just gonna be our benefits. We just have to take the benefits from the things that they gave us because of the court case and the medical marijuana. the only benefit I could see Rasta getting from that there is maybe opening up a lounge and trying to do your thing and what's not, but then to actually sell the herb as a medicine, you have to be registered and there's certain procedure you have to go through, and it's too much procedures. So because of all these procedures now, they're gonna limit with the amount of persons that actually can be a legal entity in the system. But what the government should have done was, the reason why they couldn't do this is because of some international obligation, going against what the judge said, that no outside law is greater than our sovereign nation laws. You see, meaning like the United Nations laws cannot be over our laws. So we have to stick to our laws. But they now being scared of our United Nations and America because they signed certain specific drug treaties. Now they got themselves in a jam. So it's a lot of technical things, and eventually everything will clear up because it's a plan that created by the Almighty. But this is what we're into right now, and all I saying to the people them is plan herb. The government ain't gonna do this to every single person. If there's a limit, just try to use the limit in a ways where just to gather your herbs and then go plant in the mountain. One thing I could tell you, they're not going in the mountain and just seeking down people plant like they used to. You see it? It's just when you got the plant on you and your possession, they want you to only have 2 ounces.
Yeah, so anything you want to talk about?
I would have like if you could have gotten Sankofa to get somebody to like plug in whatever device he's listening to us on, like through the headphone, so he could have listened on the headphone, because like when I'm going to talk now, he's not going to hear me. He might have to repeat.
The next
ask
phone,
him to do that.
you can put in a headphone in it and listen the next device with a headphone so you could hear when you're still talk.
Yeah, I'm trying to hear him.
Yeah, so plug in a headphone so you can listen to the headphone, and then when you're ready to talk, then you talk. You know what I mean? That is you could hear on the next device when you're still speaking. So
yeah.
So you can get a start out.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
All right.
But he could speak still.
Guide your son.
Okay, yeah. You see, Sankofa touched on a lot of critical issues, right? And we must bear in mind also that Sankofa is the reason why we are at this juncture in which we are in relation to cannabis, because it was because of the case with Sankofa which forced the government technically to have to make some decisions in regards to cannabis and the way forward in relation to cannabis. Now, one of the points that Sankofa brought up in relation to Rastafari, and I would have pointed to that some time back, even in the initial move when the discussions were being had in relations to decriminalizing or legalizing cannabis. I knew if we went down the road of addressing cannabis from Rastafari from a religion, or just from the religious standpoint, that it would have created some issues for Rastafaris who are not a part of any religious organization. And so that is part of where one of that challenge is. Then, as a result of it being deemed dealt with under the religious realm, that is part of why it was looked upon that then it would not be deemed necessary for being a part of the trading or the business sector. However, when we had the initial discussions, I remember when the CARICOM delegate came to St Kitts and Nevis, one of the members, there was a brethren, I don't remember his name, but I think we interviewed him here on the program Banky, the same brethren that we interviewed sometime back, who was
Jay.
responsible, very much instrumental on the cannabis board in Jamaica and legalizing and
Yeah.
decriminalizing cannabis in Jamaica. I remember when he came, he had a meeting specific with the Rastafari group, apart from the CARICOM delegation. And one of the things he pointed out was addressing this same issue where Rastafari is concerned, because he said he think that Jamaica missed the boat when it comes to really addressing cannabis and being specific for Rastafari to truly benefit from the cannabis industry. And that was one of the areas he highlighted. And he said that we on St Kitts and Nevis need to take proactive measures so that we don't find ourselves in that same situation that Jamaica is in, where Rastafari may be able to use it freely to some extent, but when it comes to the commercialization or benefiting from the business venture of it, it is a whole different ball game altogether. Now, yes, there is the premise that from a religious group, you can function from a group, or individual Rastafari members could come together as a group and form a cooperative or something like that and benefit from some of the um, the the exemptions or special benefits that would be afforded to Rastafari. But that was something that was necessary. Now, I think also Rastafari need to be a bit more out there in terms of presenting their case and their position. Even when the debate was taking place with the government, I kept saying Rastafari made some presentations to the government. However, the Rastafari side was never presented to the public, so the public could say, well, okay, when the government did come out with whatever they presented, that Rastafari did make a presentation, and so Rastafari could argue, well, y'all didn't listen to what we said, what we presented in here, and so the people could buy in with Rastafari as well because they were aware that Rastafari would have made these presentations. Now, the other point that Sankofa cemented, which is problematic, and I mentioned that already, I keep saying that in our quest forward, that in terms of addressing cannabis and decriminalizing cannabis, the emphasis from the government side right now is mainly from the medical cannabis side. There's no emphasis in place in relation to recreational cannabis and cannabis from the religious or spiritual side. It is mainly from the medicinal side. Now, from the medicinal side, cannabis and the industry is much more regulated because you're dealing, it's treated as medicine and something that people are going to consume. And so as a result, now you will have to get more specific. You can't just say you're gonna make up a potion and you're gonna make up this ointment and you're gonna make up and so on, and you're not in a position to tell me how much what's the quantity of CBD and what's the quantity of THC and what other compounds that may be active, and and these things. So you would have to be able to present these things, because then you are going to be left in a position where somebody can sue you then, because when somebody buy this thing and then some kind of effect, because they don't know the quantities that's been taken. So all of these things are things that are going to be put in place, which is going to, when it come to, the average man is going to realize, and it's going to appear as if there's going to be so many roadblocks in his way that he's not going to be able to make it through. Then, even if he now is limited to only growing the raw cannabis to supply some of these industries that are going to be into creating these products, now they also would have to be under stringent measures. So their cannabis will have to be grown under certain specific conditions in order to meet a certain standard as well. So you can't just, that kind of cannabis more than likely would not necessarily be grown outdoors without proper supervision and so on, to see what kind of pests and so on. And so you will find that that market will be considered the black market, that market that we are looking forward to, that many might be looking forward to when they think that cannabis is free up, is going to be fought, because those people who are now going to have the money to pay to regulate the business and to set up the dispensaries and to do what, it's going to be a fight. Because how dare you now come and set up outside my door when I have to pay for my business, and you're just going to come and set up shop outside? You're gonna have to pay for my license to go, and you could just go and then come and sell. So then the black market is still going to be fought down. So these are some of the issues that I think sometimes, as we look at the industry, we have to begin to see and think beyond the smoke one, and realize that as much as we may be looking at that market, with the push for medical cannabis, that market is not going to be the choice priority, and it is going to be pushed in a corner if we don't begin to really get those in authority to address the recreational and spiritual, religious side of cannabis, and also clearly define what can and cannot be done in terms of that industry. And I think part of what Sankofa alluded to as well is the fact that those who are in those spaces are not making the information clear, and to some extent have opted to disrespect to some extent our constitution, or not adhere to our constitution, but prefer to adhere to the other international, whether it's drug prevention act and all these kind of acts that they signed on to. And this is part of the problem that we have to some extent. We sign on to these things, or we have elected officials who sign on to these things, and then we, the public, don't have consultation. And then even with what is going on here in terms of the cannabis, a lot of these things will lack consultation. So Sankofa, very, very important that you're here with us to engage in this discussion and to really bring some of these issues to the table. And you're the perfect person too, because like I said, it is because of you why we are at this stage, and the patience that you would have had over the years go through the persecution, but still stood up and were able to get your case heard, and were able to be victorious, and victorious for everybody. So we give thanks.
Sankofa.
Thanks, yeah, I don't move. I just have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, you Mr. Virgin. And I see that we're gonna get this thing sorted out, man. With great minds like Banky and IY, trust me, Egad, and there's a lot of Rastaman that know what to do, but the problem is actually, I think the government themselves just never really wanted to do it, and they fear international, because America themselves haven't fully legalized in all states and every place and whatever. They still have limitations, and even in America, the federal government still have ganja illegal. So it's not, even though all these states you see in America claiming that they have herb legal, if the FBI want to invade certain areas, they still have the right to do it, based on how the law is set up in America still, because overall ganja is still illegal in America. So, and until the federal government in America actually change their laws and make ganja truly illegal, then that's gonna give the United Nations and the world the impetus to do their thing, because we're following them. How long we gonna be like that, following another country? When you follow other country and you have other country determining what you have to do, that means you're not truly independent, you're not a sovereign nation. You still have somebody else that you have to listen to. So I feel like we have to make our own decisions, and we have to do what is best for us. If we just let the herb be and just start to industrialize on the herb in so many different areas, we'll be ahead of a lot of other countries, because we'll actually be not just having the herb as a medical, we'll be able to have the herb and as byproducts. You know, in the Caribbean, we could make a lot of byproducts of the herb. Remember, herb only could grow outdoors in America for 6 months, you know. We can go herb outdoors all year round. And still we could decide if we want to grow it indoors too, because you could just set up a greenhouse. We could monopolize the market in the Caribbean and the type of soil that we have because of that kind of tropical weather. We have a different type of herb. When we go with herb organically, when they man want to make true medicine, is we they're gonna want the herb from. The organic weed from St Kitts, the organic weed from Jamaica, the organic weed from Antigua. This is what's gonna be running the market, not the man the fake weed that they be growing up there, not because it look good. Is the content of the THC and the value of the THC in the weed, meaning like there's you know, when you have a synthetic class of something or a genetically modified class of something, you're not gonna have the same nutrient value in the product. And then the product ain't gonna be able to reproduce by seed so easy. Because they usually put a seed killer in it so that you don't reproduce the seed because of patented rights and what's not. But when we do this thing organic, naturally, and we just, no matter whatever seed we have, it's gonna have value in it, whether it's in the area of CBD or the other nutrients that is in the herb. You see? And we just have to still learn a little bit more about the herb, but learn about the herb, not based on just their terms, but really understand the herb. So that when we bring forward our things, we don't have to say everything like the way America's saying, because they're still gonna want to control patterns, just even with words that they use. You see, they want to control patterns with these things, because those people in the old time days knew that there was a specific element in the herb that can do certain things, but they just didn't put a name towards it. A man from Israel went in the lab from get some herb from us, the Caribbean herbs, where they thief and they send them up America and what's not. And then he actually was able to isolate, so-called isolate the THC, and then he put a name towards it. You see it? You know, so it's like we still have to understand these science. Like being able to have the machines that can actually look at a herb plant, a buds from a herb, and then from that machine there you could watch and you could see how much different nutrients is in the plant itself. You see, these type of things is what we need, because in the future, how the man gonna set it up without these laboring and all these things, you're gonna have to say, oh, your plant is 75% THC, 2% CBD, this percent cannabinoid or whatever. So it's like they're setting up a system just to complicate it. But if we just simplify it, we just continue to just plant herb and juggle herb and make money from herb. We can't worry about the system, because the reality of the system, they ain't setting it up for I and I. They ain't setting it up for I and I.
Yes,
but the key thing what we got, we're gonna still be the #1 producers.
But you know, they're setting up. They're setting up the office next month, the 21st. They had a press release about that they're going to be setting up the office, the Cannabis Authority office. So if they're going to be setting up the office within a month time, I would like to know what would they have in place when it comes to people calling and wanting about seeds and all this different stuff. If they're ready to deal with the general public, that is the thing. If it's planned to open within the 21st and have the secretariat and all these things ready, are they ready to be bombarded by the amount of questions and phone calls and all this different stuff? Do they really have a team?
Most of them are going to be lining up there for the license so they don't get locked up, you know, because that's what going to end up happening to, you know, they're going to get like people, because it seems like they're going to be offering us the license cheap, across the board. They're going to be offering us the license cheap. You see, when I say maybe like even $100
yeah, but
for those license, but the trick is they got like 10 different licenses.
Yes, but
that's the trick. Even though you could grow or you can't sell. And a lot of people they're limiting from selling. Like not gonna give selling license too. So there were gonna be the use of a person growing the weed and can't sell the weed. You see it? So as the Virgin say, we're gonna have to organize ourselves together and set up companies and corps and cooperative or whatever to try to limit that. I'm a part of a group already. There's no need for me to go get no personal license because I already have the rights according to the law with the Rastafari thing. But we know being part of a corp already, whatever we know, whatever, even if I go on my personal, I will just sell it to the corp. So these are the way that we're gonna have to go forward. We're gonna have to set up a cooperative, and then maybe by chance they allow us to do business based on the fact that they're gonna get the little tax, because it's gonna also be about that. Because if the guy like 10 different licenses, I mean you couldn't just give one license to do almost everything, and just put a little extra money. You see?
yes, and you're saying something?
Okay. Yeah, let him know I'm gonna make an utterance here. So
yes, and I'm gonna say something, Nick.
So first up, right, I want to put this utterance in here. When we launched on St Kitts and Nevis and they were about to go to make the changes in terms of the legislations for cannabis, I could recall like today, Ras Aya began to push the notion and the agenda by saying that based on the fact that you know that you have to make these changes, even though you have not made these changes yet, I think that there should be a moratorium on cannabis, where cannabis is concerned. And I think based on what I am seeing here with, some of these cases that I'm seeing people still being arrested and so on with cannabis, I think that that would have been a fair
But that's what Sanko was saying. Well, when
argument.
they fight out the thing, just leave the herb alone and people do them thing. That is
Leave the
basically what
whole, yes,
Sanko was
let the
saying.
cannabis free up. So have a
Yes.
moratorium, don't arrest nobody and so on, because it is not that people don't want to adhere to the laws or the regulations, but it's just that you don't have them in place. So it is a kind of way to you not have things right and then still really want to enforce because you don't have things in place. And so I am in total agreement with that premise. Let's have a moratorium. And this is why I'm saying it really needs for those who are in those positions to come forward and present information in such a way that everybody is transparent. Those who need to know, those who are the upholders of the law, should know what they can and cannot do and should not do. Now, you can't tell them don't uphold the law, as I guess, it's the law, but with reason, you should be able to explain, well, this is the position and this is why we don't think that it should be enforced to that degree until we
this is one of the whole thing coming. This is one of the things where Agriculture Expo coming up last year, and then in St Kitts. So people looking forward for these cannabis areas and these cannabis trees and stuff like that. So we're going to see what happens next week, Thursday and Friday, if we have these cannabis set up and all these different stuff. These
you see,
education. Yes.
Banky, hear me now. As much as I do respect what you're there saying, the reality is that initiative, just like this initiative that we're having this discussion here, has nothing to do with the government and nothing to do with those who are in authority. It was your initiative. This was you personally being an advocate for cannabis and wanted to do this. Well, you asked them for permission, so they gave you permission to do it. But what I am saying here is, since they who should be doing things like that are not doing it, because they're not making any provisions for education. So this is what I'm saying. They need to be doing it. And since they're not doing it, then they need to have a moratorium. Tell the police them stop harass people for cannabis in the meantime, because the reality is legally some of the things that they're harassing them for, they should be able to do. But just because they are not informed and they themselves are not putting themselves in the position and in the spaces to inform the people, which is what we seek to do on our program. When we do our cannabis show at the end of the month, this is one of the things that we keep pushing. We keep asking them to get a PRO, get somebody to put out the information so that we don't have to be guessing and wondering if you could do this and why you can't do this and things like that. And then we don't have to be, even after Sankofa case, we still have to be going through some of these things, and even up to 2025 now, little things that really should have been trashed out and should have been dealt with, and we should be knowing where we are going, is not addressed. Now, here's the other thing. Sankofa spoke about, you know, there's a lot that we need to know, and that's a reality. There's a lot that needs to be done in terms of training and getting people to learn more about the plant. And this was because of what I was speaking about earlier. The brainwash that they would have done to us in terms of psychologically making us feel like this plant is so bad and so terrible that even now that the plant is free, people still are dealing with the plant as if it is prohibited still, and they still have that negative notion.
I know Southern University is supposed to be doing some training coming up with in St Kitts and Nevis and stuff like that when it comes to cannabis. They spoke about it when they were here just last week on the training when they were dealing with the animals and in extension and crops and stuff like that. So they had the crop and both animal extension came down. So Dr. Snowden spoke about doing some future training in cannabis and different stuff like that. So they seem, but these are things that needed, could have been continued going on in the meanwhile locally, because and having different topics and all this stuff, because you can't, because when music festival come up, they have all these different areas that is designated for cannabis and for sales of cannabis and all this different stuff. So it's amazing that tourism getting a longer way with doing what they want, but then aspect within society still getting the fight. So it just don't make no sense in a lot of these things. You see what I mean?
Well, accountability. So that's what it comes down to. We have to be able to hold them accountable, and that's what this is all about. We're lacking when it comes to information, and until we do get information, we're going to continue to be like this. So Sankofa, I mean, I really have to give thanks to Sankofa and the works that he's doing and his continued efforts, even though, you know, he, like you, even though a lot of things have not necessarily been fully regulated, would have, you know, been making the efforts still to sensitize the public and demystify the brains and the minds of many, to the point where, you know, a lot more people who might not have been open to it and so now come out to his events and so on, and, you know, look around and try to learn more. But a lot more of this need to be done, and it need to be more open, and so that even when Sankofa do events like that and you do events like this and so on, Banky, you don't have to be still stepping on toes and wonder if you could do this and if you could do that, and, you know what I mean, how they're gonna act and so on. These things need to be clear, you know what I mean, so that the public understand too that this is what they could do and can't do, and stop worrying about still a man coming and pulling up your 2 trees and so on in your yard and these kind of things and so on. So Sankofa, you know, I tip my hats to you. I think I see Alan making some comments here, giving you some real props here. I mean, let me see if I could go through from the top here. Watch here, Sankofa was already a legend for me. After this national hero, definitely a cannabis ambassador. But you must have the appropriate license under spiritual grounds. Again, Alan Powell says Sankofa is the realest Rastaman, on the road, standing, sitting, or laying down, that's the man. He said, I would sign off on Sankofa being involved in any aspect of cannabis, a reasonable man. Sankofa, so important, there needs to be a strain from St Kitts named Sankofa in honor of the G. Let's do a competition. And then he said, the best way for cannabis rights to move forward is for the government to start tax the producers. Soon as people pay a tax, they will gain the rights and ask for better. They pay now. Now, in regards to that comment, Alan, that was the recommendation from CARICOM. And this is why I'm saying, like, I don't understand why a lot of our, leaders in the Caribbean have been dragging their foot. But a part of it to come down to the fact that I keep saying that CARICOM is like a toothless dog. CARICOM don't really have any binding. And that is why Sankofa made the comment about different Caribbean countries, even though they have decriminalized it, the regulations that they may have in place for Rastafari are different groups and so it differs because from the CARICOM level, what CARICOM did, CARICOM said, look, from our perspective, this thing should be decriminalized and regulated the same way you regulate tobacco and alcohol. So just what Alan is talking about, and if you think about it, for tobacco, for liquor, there's a liquor license. Tobacco, I think you have to have a tobacco license as well too. You pay some little tax to it, and treat it the same way. Well, if it is not to be sold to children under 18 and so on, you regulate it and whatever the case may be. But that is all that should have been done with cannabis. CARICOM left it up to the individual leaders in the individual territories to implement if they want to and when they want to. And that is why I said CARICOM is like a toothless dog, because there was no standard set after CARICOM make the recommendation to say, okay, well, yes, this is what we recommend, and every territory have to implement this by the end of December 2025. So there was not that deadline. So any leader, and this is part of the problem, and why I keep saying every year when the heads of government have this heads of government meeting, it is like a reunion because a lot of them used to go to the same university and so on. And so it's just a time when they get together and drink and meet up and say, hey, boy, long time we ain't see each other and whatever the case may be. Because at the end of the day, whatever regulations they come to agreement with, it is not binding that anybody has to do it. They choose to do it and when they choose to do it. So what does that mean? So if there's this that is supposed to represent all of come together, come to some decisions, but yet at the end of the decision that we come to, is only if we want to apply it, we apply it. And that is part of the problem. Why Sankofa mentioned have these different territories in CARICOM as we move towards addressing the cannabis issue. And there's, as Sankofa said, more to be done, but sometimes we sometimes don't really want to give some people who can really help the opportunity to help, because I don't know right now, because of maybe the medical thing. Some people are seeing how they could benefit from the medical side, because like Sankofa is saying, from that side, a lot of the average people are going to lose out, and this is what people didn't realize. It's some of the people who are fighting cannabis and never even like cannabis is going to end up and benefit under the medical scheme. And how they're going to benefit too? Because it's going to require some skill sets and some knowledge that at this point a lot of people on the island don't have. It means then that they will have to bring in investors and people who are already in the industry, who have that capability and have that money and protect the little shake up if the first go don't meet the good management practices, manufacturing practices and so on, and they could take that loss, that they could deal with these things. We need to understand that industry a little bit more and realize that a lot of the local people, as long as they continue on this medical trend, and maybe that is why they're still enforcing the law, because they know that when that time comes, they would have to reinforce it for those who are going to be making these huge investments in these kind of operations. So Sankofa, I know you might be having a difficulty in hearing and being able to respond, so I'll let you respond.
Yes, Sankofa, I know it's been going on for like 2 hours now, so definitely we have to bring it back on an issue to continue the discussion. But in the meanwhile, if anything else you got to say during your wrap up, then you can say it.
Yeah, that's it, Banky. I would read one thing I really want to say, Banky. Let me just turn down this here. Hold on, man.
Yeah.
It's to thanks to everybody still for even trying to big me up so much. And I think sometimes it's unfair that is me getting so much big up because so much man went through even longer jail time than man and I went through a lot of struggles and we get frustrated, man.
Yes,
Over the last time I get arrested for marijuana and when I went to prison and the virgin they reasoned with me in the prison how to handle my case in the sense of an appeal and keeping my job and I said to myself, I get a lot of big up, but them jail man, they help me out a lot,
Yes, sorry.
When you really analyze this thing, there's the use them in jail really kind of set. Because I was just doing the appeal, I wasn't gonna go to no constitutional court. The energy just come out, but it's still the concept of even the appeal. If them jail man tell me that in order to secure my life, I have to appeal the case because when appeal does, it's steady matter.
Yes.
So whatever you're under is like it didn't really happen.
Yes.
So even though I was in prison during my time, I was able to still hold my job because of the appeal.
Yes.
So when I came out of prison, the appeal was there now. And from the appeal now, the lawyer dropped me and then I was able to go forward and do it on my own to a level. The court appointed a lawyer, but he was appointed for the court itself. He wasn't really on my behalf. But a lot of the things he said was on my behalf.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't just take my side in everything.
Yes.
There's certain things he also took the side of the opposition as well too. So I couldn't bank on him. I had to represent myself on that level. So I even got to give thanks to Patrice Nisbet because he helped me organize my first affidavit. I gave him all the information and he helped me to lodge the affidavit because there's certain things that I had the information. I write all the information on my affidavit and my originating motion. I write all the information, but he structured it to send it to the court in the proper order. And from that day, me not no other lawyer represent me. It was just me. So I give thanks still for accomplishing that. But there's a lot of youths in the ghetto that went through hard life. Brethren of mine that got jail, got to leave the family for 6 months. So we just know that this thing would have to stop because we can't continue like this. Otherwise, it could have get violent, And man prefer to take the educational route and the rebellious route at the time. So, but I still want to say, I believe that more blessings still should go to all the ganja man. Them keep it real and keep it going as well too.
Yes,
and never stop planting, regardless of the fact that we know we was technically breaking their law, but we know that we wasn't breaking no law according to the Almighty. So it was alright. It was alright fine to go forward. It was not a problem because it's about 6-7 times a man come inside my house for marijuana. You see it? And only one time I had to go to jail, so I still give thanks. But even the jail time too, because it wasn't a long jail time. So people want to big me up, but I want to big up all the ganja man, them man.
Yes,
and all the persons them in my community that was there to help when every morning they come by my house and we reasoning about the case and they laughing after me and telling me that I can't do this and I can't do that and it was just a lot of good work still because at least they had an input in the case.
Yeah, man.
Because it's like we would read certain information to them and they laugh, who gonna laugh, who's taking me serious by saying, oh, you need to say this or say that. So man, give thanks for all the people them that assist me in this mission still. And most of all, Frankai, King Frankai, because the reality of the matter is all I had to do, my part was easy, because Frankai had already win in Antigua for as how could be seen as a religious use and
I remember that case.
Religion, we use the herb as a sacrament.
Yes.
The judge agreed to Frankai and that the only reason he didn't give him a full victory was because of at that time he said the medical, they didn't understand how dangerous it was for children and the medical aspect. He didn't prove enough information towards the safety of the plant for the general public. And that now it was easy for me, knowing that in my time now, because Frankai case was almost like 12 years before my case. You see, and maybe even more. In our time now, the medical people them was saying that is good for this and good for that. So all I did was give them the information that they were saying back to us.
Yes, sir.
I send it back to them, like I send it in as part of my evidence. Sanjay Gupta report, you know that report from CNN.
Yes.
I send in the waiting for exhale from the CARICOM. Well, the judge asked for that. He wasn't gonna make no decision without that, and he also asked for the St Kitts Cannabis Committee report, you know, and so it was like all these things is what helped the case. The things them that I thought wasn't gonna help the case is what helped the case. I couldn't believe that the St Kitts Cannabis Commissions, how they even worded certain things. It's like they say, they want this thing, they want me to win because at the end of the day, it's the word, you know, how they word these things. And that is what I was able to use a quote from the same chief medical officer who me and she argued so much in the when we was having the public discussions. But at the end, she and Rasta come best friends, and she was actually learning from us. She sometimes gave us the mic when it was time for us to reason, not just me, but other Rastas who was around. So the St. Kitts Cannabis Commission still was a good thing for me. So, you know, so I appreciate Banky,
Yes, sir.
everything you have done for me, Banky, man, this opportunity to even reason about this and continue to go forward. My thing is now to just go forward as a group and we go and we reason with the commissioner to let them know that they man, they just need to stop. You know?
Yes,
Even
sir.
if the law is saying something else, just by conscience, man. Enough people being and enough families being destroyed just for a plan that the Almighty create. Come on, it doesn't make any sense. You know, and you can't protect people if they feel like nothing is wrong with the plant. Who you're gonna really be protecting. And then this thing about, because the lady brought up at the end here when at our event that children under a certain age can't deal with the herb. But what if your child have a certain type of cancer and it's only herb to heal her? You think we're going to wait on going to any doctor when we know how to make certain things? We're going to heal my youth them. You see, so they have to specify because they can't just say overall blanket, using a blanket to say that overall we can't give hope to our youth. I know it's Rasta, we indigenous was,
but
and our one is a part of our lifestyle and the way that we live, I should say.
The went and changed.
And if utilizing the herb even as a tease, and to help them, even if it's not just to smoke and whatever, and for that kind of purpose there, you know, but at least to heal them and to make sure that they are right, herb is just part of our life. So they got to respect that. And I think up to a point they're understanding that because we have Rastas that representing I and I well within the commission. It's just that to me, they're just a move. Like not the Rastas, you know, but the commission itself is just a move too secretive. And they need to address the public on a quarterly basis or on a monthly basis, you know, and still have discussion with persons who use herb and who's dealing with herb, and they should just even go as far as to just do a study on the herb. Like take persons with herb at a certain age, a particular age, doing different things and whatever, and see how the physical is in comparison to each other. And you know, there's a lot of ways to do studies. A lot of studies could be done on the herb. with I, just especially even within I community.
What is amazing?
But they don't pass them state there.
What is amazing is that
it's the state at the time just for I to benefit from the herb a little even more financially still, because we're gonna always use the herb for healing and for sharing. But directly, we need to also be able to have a finance from the herb because it belongs to us. You know, we need to be able to benefit from the herb even financially as well too.
Well, you see, one of the things
so give thanks to everybody.
Yeah, man, definitely. Appreciate it. But one of the things that I don't actually to offer is that they went as far as in the house, the Attorney General and them and the cabinet, and too far to go as far as and legislate that the herb is a non-poisonous plant. But if you don't go as far as and legislate all these things, well, how we still fight the same plant that is non-poisonous? Me not get that with all these restrictions.
You have to say non-poisonous plant for the
yeah, but
the medical.
So this is the sense. So something is not poisonous, but you still have all these restrictions, and we want to try that all madness. So it's common sense made deal with, you know.
Yeah.
Common sense.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah,
but brethren, but
poisonous.
Yeah, man, but enough respect for coming on this show and sharing your story as usual and giving a wealth of knowledge, and people are more in tune for what's really going on and how the herb is still being fight and looked upon, because it's still engraved in the people's mind in stone that the herb is bad, so it's gonna always be bad. And even those who want to benefit because of money wise, in the back of their head is still bad, but because they'd have tweaked it in a way because of making money, in the eyes is they're going along with the flow because it's just all about money. But those who know the goodness of the herb and that everything that the creator have created, knows better and using things in a safe way. If you overuse too much of water, it's bad for you, you know. You eat too much a protein, is bad for you. So in everything is moderation. But as I said, greatly appreciate the coming on. Definitely I'll have to get you on again, definitely sometime in the next month or two to continue the conversation, and hopefully everything else. Well, then guys see what the issue was when it comes for you getting online and stuff like that. But next time we get it sorted out and everything well. But enough respect, Sankofa, and you can always click off on your end. So, all right?
Yeah.
All right.
That's right.
Yeah, man, bless up.
Thanks.
Yeah, man.
Bless up.
Yes. Yeah, son.
Yes, sir.
That was Sankofa. You know what I mean? Putting his last words before he get off. I mean, we've done been here for 2 hours, so just wanted to big up Sankofa and all the works have been going on, and also Gideon Organic Farm and all the other cooperative over in St Kitts spot. You know what I mean? Big up Chosai and the crew also, you know what I mean? Plus Bora and all them guys there at Gideon Force and doing such great works. Yeah, man, Sankofa mean well. And as I say, it wasn't for him and the people who surround him, encourage him, give him support, even goes as far as I was bigging up Patrice Nisbet and all the guys them within the prison system who encourage him to appeal his case. Otherwise, he could have lost his job because you understand. So everything worked out well, and it is what it is today. And as Alan said, he need to be acknowledged. You understand, a strain within his name, or 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever it is, whatever is put in place, and also be acknowledged as a national hero. Because I mean, these are things come along in a long time. Because even though man been fighting and say, oh, it's all right, knowing it's all right, it is always been it's always been engraved in the Constitution. But just knowing that you have people within an environment who have their own belief system would fight against your own right. And it's sad. It's very sad. So that's why we're always push for reparation for all the wrong that have been done and fight against the people. Then they have to find the money to pay for all the families that have destroyed and hurt, and people they have used and brutalized and all this different stuff. And we can go on and on and on. But yes, son, give thanks again, you know what I mean, another Friday evening. And really appreciate for those who sticking with us throughout the time, even though sometimes we start late. They really stick with us and continue to share the live. But before we go, remember, coming up from April 1st, I mean, there's a partner with Indonesia at the Padang Polytechnic Technical University over in Indonesia, where there's some training over there in coconut and some candle making and different stuff like that, soap making. So I organize a workshop when it comes to jam making and stuff like that for St Kitts and people in St Kitts and Nevis. I mean, whether it's male, female, but and stuff like that. But also they would like the project, so that after they ask me if anyone other countries can be taking part. So definitely, so we should have at least 20 to 30 other different Caribbean countries taking part in the same. Any amount of people can sign up for the workshop. I have sent out a link already. Yes, and I think you're sharing it on your Facebook also to get a feedback if whether the timing, whether it's on the weekend or in the weekdays, and then the time gonna be chosen, and then the works. Well, I'll send out the information by next week, and different platform where you can start signing up, and then the training will begin in April, in May. So the signing up will be in April 1st to the 17th, and then the training begin in May for a couple of days and stuff like that. So that is just one of the training that I'm working on. I also have some more going to be coming up, and we'll continue the discussion as they get closer and everything is approved and stuff. So the training will be for free. It won't cost you anything. We have a lot of mangoes, hopefully you'll be wasting, and bananas and different stuff. So we're gonna find ways of putting them to use, and to also at the same time eating healthier, and find a way of putting money into your pocket, and also small businesses and stuff like that. Because the way forward in the country, the agriculture sector is always the value added products, and these are one way. I'm going to try to empower our people when it comes to value added products and stuff like that, and getting some training within the FDA coming down here to train us, and where we can be able to ship the right way to ship food back out to the US, where there is your sour drink, your bottled and all, your jams that you make, and all this different stuff, teas and your fresh fruits and vegetables. Just so you see, Grenada shipping their salsa, it means that the FDA had to come down there and show them what procedure and the right way of to package their stuff and make sure they're free from pests. And all these things will be done. They'll come and train your people for free. You see what I mean? It's not like it's going to cost you anything. It's just to reach out and partner with them. So I'm happy that Shaba's Agnes could have partnered with Ati Padang Polytechnic over in Indonesia and continue looking. And we just got to big up Dr. Esther Edward for making sure this project went through and find the funding and stuff like that. So got to big up Dr. Edward on that. Definitely greatly appreciated. She's the one who lead the program at the university there at Ati Padang. So definitely got to give her kudos and stuff like that. So Yasan, another evening, your last words.
Well, I want to give thanks to the listening public and all those who would have been sticking and staying with us throughout the 2 hours. We would have had a wide range of topics, but in the last quarter, we zoomed in on cannabis with Sankofa. I think Sankofa, made a wonderful presentation. I was able to touch on some issues that I think we do really need to be paying more attention to. I'm hopeful that in the not too distant future, we could be hearing more from the the cooperative in relation to cannabis and the way forward for the industry. I'm really looking forward to more in regards to the education and training and the re-education, so to speak. I think the same emphasis that was placed on the school youth by telling them how terrible and how bad cannabis is with the DA program and so on, then I think now there is a need to have a similar program to refresh and re-engineer the minds of the youth to see cannabis from a different perspective and not seeing it as originally thought of as a drug, but as something that can be beneficial. And when we say beneficial, we are not just thinking from the smoking aspect alone, but from all of the different industries. And that in itself, with that said, I think a lot more need to be done in terms of training where cannabis is concerned and getting people exposed to the other side of cannabis, whether it is from making hemp products or textile products, or extracting the oils. Some of the in the hemp industry, the oils are not just used just for medicine, but it's also used for fuel. There are a lot of different products that are made from hemp. I actually saw hemp toothbrush just the other day, and so I'm just looking at the other possibilities that we could look at, because sometimes people just limit their meditation to just cannabis from the smoking side. As a matter of
Yes.
fact, I am in negotiations with Brethren and his company, um, who is making homes from hemp. And one of the things with hemp and hempcrete blocks and so on is that they are fire resistant. So I like those places in California that went through that fire the other day. If they had homes that were made of hemp, there would not have been such a destruction in that side. So they're fire resistant, they're thermal, meaning when it's cold on the outside, it stays cool inside, and when it's hot on the outside, it still stays cool. They're termite proof, so which means termites, wood lice ain't coming in your house, right? And so these are some of the benefits of using cannabis or hemp as a construction material, as a modern day construction material. So these are some of the things and things that we could look at, and we would love to introduce to the Caribbean as well. We might not necessarily have to go the hemp, but we might be able to still utilize the byproduct. Or in the case of if you're going to use it for medicine, just like how you could grow cannabis indoors and under controlled environment, you could also grow hemp under controlled environment in greenhouse settings and so on. So that is another aspect. In relation to the project that you mentioned, I think sometimes you play yourself down a little bit, But Banky is functioning even nearly in the capacity of the Minister of Agriculture in this sense. This workshop is a workshop that is being funded for totally in association with the Indonesian government and Shaba's Organics, Banki, and Nevis. And this is a workshop that is going to be open to the general public, not just the general public and St Kitts and Nevis, but anybody around the world. And it costs 0 cents, $0, absolutely free. And it's giving you an opportunity to learn some skills in what we consider as agro-processing, which is a field that we're pushing very much. I personally keep pushing this. I keep saying that because of our size, we don't have lands that we could talk about, hectares of lands, like, serious tracts of land that we could do serious farming on. But with the little plots that we have, we can produce enough to sustain ourselves. And if we focus on zooming in on organic farming, then we could create a value-added products that are of a very high value and standard, and we could be making serious revenues from the value-added products that we are creating. And so that emphasis in agro-processing, in developing the byproducts, is very, very critical. And that special effort from Banki should not go unnoticed, and not recognize the contributions that this brother is making single-handedly in St Kitts and Nevis. As we speak about contributions in agriculture, I also want to wrap up with I'm seeing an article there where the introduction of drone technology is utilized here on St Kitts and Nevis. And there was a demonstration where I saw Mr. Neil of the robotics team and some other members of the agriculture department. And I think that's the same article where I see the members of the Southern University was there, where they were able to
Yes.
demonstrate a drone that is going to be used to spray in the field. As you mentioned, though, Banky, I'm hoping that the ingredients of the things that they're spraying is going to be biological, like neem or something that is eco-friendly and environmentally friendly, because we really need
Yes.
to be serious where that is concerned. So as much as I embrace the modern tech and the fact that it's going to mean that it's going to be less work for physical humans, so then now a human will be needed to operate the drone, but then, in the field, that has its advantages to some extent as well, because it means an individual would not be exposed to the chemicals and so on as much. But hopefully, as we mentioned, if the chemicals are biological in nature, then they should not even be that harmful to the person who is administrating the spray.
Yes.
But that's very good in regards to what we see happening for agriculture. Also, the relationship with Southern University and that coming to fruit, and we see the byproducts of that, the relationship with the Tobacco project. We would have heard one of the members spoke about some research that they would have been doing ongoing in relation to cannabis and St Kitts and Nevis, and also some of the other research in animal husbandry and so on, livestock production and so on. And so I give kudos to the agricultural department and the ministry and the efforts that are being made in terms of in the agro industry. I put my hands up in any way or form that we could help to improve the agricultural industry. That is where we are, and that is what we do. If sometimes we have to speak out and critique constructively, that is all that it is. We, critique is not anything personal. It's because we want to see better. We know that better can be done, and we want to see better. And I am going to end by saying I do have some plans in terms of helping where the cannabis research is concerned. So if given the opportunity, I would be able to, along with my team, come in and really do some serious work where training and research and development is concerned with cannabis. So give thanks.
Yes.
What
I
am I
was
seeing
just
here?
no.
Southern
I was
University Research and Extension Center. Okay, that's one of the books that you are.
yes. One of the gentlemen who was in the the one of the directors, the this who run the program when it comes to the animal part of it is one of the co-author of this book. You understand? So this book was given to me and signed by me and stuff, and signed by him at the same time. So a very good book when it comes to raising the animals, when it comes to grazing and stuff like that, the nutritional feed that is needed and all these things. So what they have done is crossbreed one of the Braham, and the Zebra, and get a massive animal over 2,000 pounds. You see what I mean? So these people are just hands-on, have their own abattoir,
But
and
you see,
and the
Banky,
compost, everything is,
um,
yes.
the thing is training, and as I heard, one of the persons who was there spoke about the feed as well. Now, what
Yeah.
we need to realize, we're in modern times, and a lot of the animals that we're having problems in getting feed for. If we do the research and we have the plants around, the machines that we could use to make our own pellets and grains and so on as well.
Of course.
And it's
Of
just
course.
the focus and emphasis on these industries that we use monies and invest in these kind of things and really address some of the challenges that we are facing instead of having to wait on St. Vincent and other places and so on. We could invest in creating our own feeds. We got a lot of moringa and a lot of things that we consider as weeds. Because we don't know of their scientific use and the nutritional value and so on. So, with more research and with more focus on agriculture, and this is why I'm saying, if more emphasis is placed on agriculture, then you're going to have a lot more young people would see more career opportunities and more opportunities to become entrepreneurs and different things in the field if an emphasis is placed on it. But if we're in the trend that we are and seeing agriculture as punishment, when a minister is not doing well, you shift him and put him in agriculture. And when you go in school and you do bad things, and so they send you in the garden because it's a form of punishment. And until that kind of mentality is changed in regards to agriculture and people see agriculture as it should be top of the chain, we're going to continue in this breath. So, Banky, I know we would have been talking about wrapping up in a couple of minutes since we gone and we said that. So, people, I want to give thanks for the support and the energy. I want you to continue to share the live and continue to support Real Entertainment Network. I want to give thanks to the entire team. We do have our little hiccups from here today, but we're working it out, and we will
Right.
definitely continue to be the team that we proposed to be. And we look forward to seeing you next week, Tuesday, for another edition of DeTopiks and Real Entertainment Network. So until then, Banky, Alan, Chev,
Enough respect and
Ira,
appreciate everyone who's tuning in.
Everybody else, and those who are logged in, enough love.
Yes, I. Enough respect.
Well, I wonder if Alan get the signal, or maybe I have to send him a message, because it seems as if we're
Send him
still...
a message. So just go on send a message. So go on the mic.
And yeah. Okay. Okay.
Soon, a lot of DJ.
If I see you walking up in the jam and you're looking good, I got to wind up on you. Don't mind if I
And like you ready for culture rama, you like you work with the
If I see you walking up in the
minister.
jam and you're looking good, I got to wind up on you. Don't mind if I wind up on you.
We later say we have to get some answers for culture rama definitely. I'm going to tell you, I'm ready for this.
Ready.
Yes.
Maybe this year I got to make sure I get the troop, maybe I can't miss it. Maybe I want to tell you, look, make sure this year the troop ready, you know.
Come look at that the way it is. Yeah, man, no respect.
Yeah, man.
Tell me what you back up that thing like a plane, you know. Mash up the stage, no me ready figure all out. Make up your face like we follow. Make sure your body in the season don't stall out. Be in a dream, make your ball out. Listen, I love all your sets up. Tell your body white, me not let go. In a 6 tickle and inch try and get you. I just play the heat, man.